Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this School Business Tech episode. My name's Ryan Green, and I'll be your host today, and we're talking about technology purchasing frameworks. As you know, and I'm sure all of you have watched the School Business Tech kind of series, there is an absolute variety and plethora of technology products currently available to schools. All of them offer features and benefits, and many of them save schools time and money. But how do you go about making the decision on which to purchase? Who's available to advise and guide you in making the right decision? Today, I'll be talking with Zoe Morgan-Kriek from the Yorkshire Purchasing Organisation about frameworks, what they are and how they benefit schools. Today, you're going to learn about the background of these organizations and the depth of thought that goes into selecting and rating suppliers who list their products and services via these frameworks. All of this means that schools and other public sector organizations avoid common pitfalls. Good afternoon, Zoe. How are you doing?
Hi, Ryan. I'm doing really well, and thanks for inviting me here today. I'm really excited to just share some of the knowledge that I've got in the category.
Brilliant. So for those of you that don't know Zoe's, Zoe's part of the Yorkshire Purchasing Organisation, or otherwise known as YPO. It's a not-for-profit organisation owned by 13 local authorities and 72 associate members, including fire and rescue. All their frameworks are open to all public sector organisations, including schools, and the profits go back into the public purse. YPO was created because its owners knew they were buying the same products and services, and they wanted a way to make savings by purchasing as a collective. Zoe is a category buyer for ICT and has been at the YPO for over 10 years with roles in sales, procurement, and IT. Previously, Zoe was at Microsoft, ran a service desk for a business continuity firm, and also worked in the telecoms industry. With an extensive background in technology, Zoe is proud to operate between industry and the public sector and making sure that best value is received for all. So, Zoe, if we can get straight into today's first question, please. What is a purchasing framework and how do they apply to schools?
Okay, so I think we've all heard the term frameworks is a compliant route to market, but actually, what does that really mean? For schools, what that means is it's a contract you can buy into where the suppliers have already been vetted. And what I mean by vetted is when a supplier comes onto a framework, we already look at their history around credit. We look at if they've had any public liability issues. We look into their insurance, their accreditations. Essentially, what we're doing is all that kind of work that you don't need to, but needs to be done to be working with suppliers in this space. There's a lot of suppliers out there. So what we're doing is really putting together a pre-approved list for you guys. And it's really important, especially in technology. It's not just about price, it is about quality as well. So we ask questions around that, implementations, after service, and stuff that you don't have to do, but we work category specifically as well.
Yeah, so is it kind of like a real posh checked and vetted service, if you like? Like we see those things on the TV for tradespeople, but these are broader categories. You're absolutely making sure, like you said, the compliance, the policy, the insurance, the financial stability, all of that is absolutely paramount and up to date.
Comes back to us basics. We're all buying the same thing, more or less. So we write a framework with that in mind, and make it as compliant as possible for customers and secure with good T's and C's, and obviously by that aggregated spend, hopefully it creates savings at the same time.
Perfect. So what aspects of technology are available on the framework?
Okay, so we've got a number of frameworks in the ICT category, and we've pretty much got an end-to-end service now. So we do hardware, software, we do Wi-Fi, broadband, we do managed print, we've got a print marketplace, and of course we've got kitchen management solutions, which is where you and I, Ryan, met.
Yeah.
Making that a digital platform, and also payments and communications within schools. These are all technologies schools are buying, and for the future we're looking at AI, we're looking at web design, and we're looking at a software for local authorities and also for education. So, the category is endless, really.
And how do you choose things to go onto the categories? What's your selection process? What do you do to go around and make a decision which ones? Yeah.
Yeah, so we engage a lot with our customers. So we might use survey monkeys, or we have category councils where we invite people on. We look at, we use tools such as Porge to see what the market is buying, what the market needs, because there's no point having a framework if people don't use it. So yeah, so we're very in touch with our stakeholders really, which are the customers. And you know, YPO are really passionate about supporting the education sector as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been to loads of events, and you always see the purple stand, the yellow sign, the
Yeah.
the YPO team always out talking to schools, having conversations, very much just explaining. And there's a real education piece, isn't there, about frameworks and procurement and how that goes. And you know, are you finding more and more schools, more and more sectors using it? You know, it is kind of adoption up, if you like.
We are, and we've got some traditional frameworks that we've had quite a while in ICT. So managed print is something that's been around for quite a few years. And you know, if a customer's not on a framework and they come onto framework, we know we can save them about 40%. But as I said, yes, it is about, you know, making savings when budgets are so tight, but it's also a really good set of terms and conditions, you know, where we know that there's no printing restrictions, there's no sort of like clauses of payments at the end of the contract. So it's about getting clear, understandable contracts in place for schools as well.
That's brilliant. So just on that point then, what additional benefits do the frameworks offer?
Yeah, so the additional benefits that they offer is, well, we talked about aggregated spend. So when we go out for a framework, we look at potentially the spend that can go through it, and then the pricing is submitted by the suppliers on that basis. But more than spend, there's the things I've talked about in your first question, Ryan, about all that compliancy, accreditation, around insurances, and we manage that on a daily basis. So there's that contract management piece. There's also information about the category, so that at the minute there's issues with chip and semiconductors. So we set the expectation of customers, making them aware of what's happening in the market. But also, if there was an issue, there's another layer of escalation there to the framework as well. And you know, at YPO, we recognise different abilities within procurement. So we've got a lot of templates. We can review specifications. We can supply pricing schedule templates. Pre-engagement is something that we push, and I know you've been involved yourself. So yeah, we can help as much or as little as a customer wants. So we don't charge for that service. That's what YPO is about. We're a public sector entity trying to help the public sector buy sensibly, save money, but also to understand about the quality aspect as well.
Can you tell me a little bit about the social value stuff that I know is becoming a real big factor in, you know?
Yeah, it's a real big factor. It's coming down in the new regulations that are going to be around next year. And a lot of local authorities are kind of being asked already to implement social value within their tenders. So we're doing a lot of work. A lot of the suppliers that we work with are already doing fantastic things. So it's not about insisting that, you know, the winning supplier employs 10 apprentices and buys an electric vehicle. It's really interesting to understand. And on the framework that we work on, Ryan, a lot of you are supporting like child hunger, food waste, calorie specific information. And to me, I would want to be working with a supplier that is passionate as I am about social value and is actually making a difference in society.
Yeah, I think especially when you're working with education, it's really important that, you know, that you're actually committed to the sector itself, to child well-being, to improving the lives of children and young people, to kind of going past. It's not just, it's that depth of investment where the supplier is genuinely committed to the outcomes of children, and that would then support the schools. And I think, you know, as you mentioned, you know, something we try and do, but I think it's great to hear that that's actually being, you know, looked at, and because it was a kind of nice to have before, and you know, it was a bit of a tick in the box, but it's great to hear that actually local authorities are looking at that in a level of depth and actually and rating that as part of the procurement exercise, because it does mean that suppliers who are they're more invested in the outcomes of educational public sector or the wider aspects of community and society are actually getting a bit of a leg up, because it generally tends to be quite expensive to do those sorts of things. So if there's no reward or kickback other than a good feeling, it sometimes, you know, can be very altruistic. So one question I obviously ask everybody who comes onto the show, which I'd really love your input in. What do you and it's been interesting, you've talked about some of the stuff around AI and all this other stuff, but what's your predictions for school business technology over the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, so let's be really honest. You know, technology has been creeping into education at a slow pace until the pandemic, when from one day to the next they had to teach via Teams, and it's just escalated. The need for digitalisation for everybody, you know, access to records and systems is more apparent. So, but it's not just that, Ryan. It's also, it's okay having lots of hardware in place. It's okay having lots of software and packages. But, you know, we're really passionate that this information needs to be secure. It's great if your information's sat in the cloud, but how secure is it? And have you got access 24/7? And this is where the quality over price comes really important in your procurement. What accreditations have these suppliers got as storing your information in the cloud? And this is where I think frameworks will really come into play. So, you know, schools are going to need to really start looking at that support function for their IT, because it's all right going out and buying hardware and software, but it is really about making that information available and secure. There's been so many news reports about cyber attacks within schools and local authorities, public sector, private sector. And, you know, there's no shame in saying we need a helping hand. You know, there's frameworks out there that have got ICT managed services. We've got one at YPO, but a lot of people have, and cloud services. You know, they're quite scary things to procure, and that's where being in this category, we can help with those things. And in every framework we've got in this category, education has got an area, has got an element to it.
Fantastic. Zoe, thank you so much for coming on today. Really interesting to just, you know, just to understand how the kind of purchasing aspects, because I know a lot of people who will be watching this, they're interested in some of the technology and some of the subject matter that we're talking into relation to technology, but it is the acquisition. You know, part of this is people wanting to buy it, and just knowing that you know, if you're selling a bucket, everybody knows what they're getting. You know, it's round, it's handle, it's metal, it's plastic, it's wooden, you know, but with technology, there is, like you said, there's such depth to it. There's understanding the complexities of data and security. And I think just knowing that there's an organization which is, you know, is supporting, it's designed to support, you know, not for profit, for supporting the procurement of there, must be a big relief to schools out there. I know certainly as a business, it's been great to be involved in some of the frameworks, but I know that I would love also an advisory panel to go and just go, am I making the right decision, especially when it's rolled out over such a large organization. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for coming on. For all of you that are watching, please go and check out School Business Tech on YouTube. You can go and follow YPO on Twitter at YPO Info, or go and find them on LinkedIn /YPO. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you think that somebody else would really value watching this session, don't forget to share it on all your social channels. You can find it on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those. You'll be able to find us, so make sure you share. Thank you once again, Zoe. Really appreciate your time. Take care.
Pleasure. Thank you, Ryan.